Welcome, everybody, to episode 16 of the Golden Squeeze podcast. We are your hosts, Josh and Wade, here to talk about Raw and NXT Spring Breakin' 2. But we're going to start off with Monday Night Raw. It's tough to say that stupid name without giggling, but Spring Breakin', here we go. Starting off with Monday Night Raw, which saw Women's World Champion Becky Lynch kick off the show. They also had a a backstage segment with Logan Paul, the Judgment Day, and old Patty Mahomes. But Patty Mahomes was very prevalent on the show this week, which they made him a heel, which is funny. I do enjoy that they made him heel in his hometown. But let's start off with Becky Lynch and getting interrupted by Liv Morgan, and shortly thereafter interrupted by Nia Jax. Becky recapped her win and her getting the title, and then Liv came in and she was yapping and Becky was yapping. A lot of yapping going on. Not necessarily a vital segment to the overall flow of the card, but it did set up a match for later on in the show. But what did you think of the initial promo to start the show?
I mean, it was fine. Nothing special. I think it was anybody could have seen that coming. Liv coming out. Didn't necessarily expect Nia Jax to come out, but I think it did its job in setting up Nia versus Liv to give Liv a signature win, because Nia's going to SmackDown and Liv needs a big win before she has what I believe is the inevitable one-on-one victory against Becky Lynch.
You think Liv's going to go over?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right.
I don't think they'd be pushing this. You know, if they would have done the Liv Morgan revenge tour thing like 1 week, but I mean they keep going at it week after week after week, and I think it was set up fine. At first I didn't like Becky winning, but now I think it would have lessened the moment had Liv won it in a battle royal. But now that she got second and beat Nia, now whenever they do have that match, it'll be one-on-one and Liv's gonna go over. I think Becky was the perfect placeholder, because whoever beats her, it'll feel important because of how prominently placed Becky is on the card right now. That's just my belief.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I think that Becky has enough goodwill where she can lose and it not really matter.
Oh, absolutely.
So they should have her lose, because it matters. It doesn't matter if Becky wins. Becky's over enough where she doesn't have to win ever.
Yeah.
But Liv has to win. She has to win. She needs to get some credibility. She needs to get that title. All that she's done up to this point, all that she's done to Becky, all that she did to Ripley, it needs to lead to something. It needs to mean something, so it needs to lead to her getting the title. So I agree with you. I think that now that I'm working it out of my head, I think you're right. I think that she will ultimately win the title. All right, so moving on to the next segment, which was time for some draft picks. Stephanie McMahon came out and she announced the picks for both brands. And the first pick on night 2 was no other than the Ring General and Tiffy Time's man, the Imperium. So good get by Raw. They then went on to also get Damage Control. So they got 6 wrestlers in this round compared to SmackDown's 2. I think it's a little lopsided, but here we are. Here we are, especially since later on in the show, SmackDown got some factions, so I think that maybe, just maybe they should have thought that one through and not make it that lopsided in one round. But Imperium and Damage Control are going to Raw. Jade Cargill and Kevin Owens are going to SmackDown. Good picks all around.
Yeah.
It also fueled a Drew McIntyre promo later on.
Oh God, that was fat. Well, not so much. I don't think the Gunther aspect of it, but the fact that later on when CM Punk got picked before him, that made it justifiable to further that feud.
Yeah. Whatever you can do to further that feud, whatever you can do to piss off Drew McIntyre.
No, man,
he's good when he's angry.
Oh,
He's good no matter what, but he's good when he's angry.
Oh, and also, and I know this was discussed on NXT. They did a very poor job of clarifying whether or not the NXT champions were protected. Whenever they talked about the champions being protected, they made it a point to show the Raw champions and the SmackDown champions. But when they talked about them being protected, it was like Raw, SmackDown, NXT. But then those graphics only showed the Raw and SmackDown split screen champions.
Mm-hmm.
But on Tuesday, there, and I know I'm jumping forward a little bit, but for the purposes of discussing the draft picks, there's a segment where Roxanne Perez was griping backstage about why she didn't get picked. She's the champion, and it was explained to her like, hey, if you'd let me talk for a second, you or something, I could remind you that all the champions are protected. And so it was clarified, and I don't know if that's because they realized after the fact, well, hey, we only showed the 2 shows champions and not the third, or maybe because people were wondering, okay, why isn't Roxanne, why aren't Trick Williams, why aren't Axiom and Fraser getting picked up, why isn't Obafemi getting picked? But they did confirm on NXT that their champions were also protected.
One thing they didn't have to confirm is why Josh Briggs didn't get picked. Just saying.
Anyways.
No confirmation necessary in WWE. I know why. All right. And so then there was a match between Gunther and Xavier Woods, and both great in-ring workers, and they put on a nice televised Monday night match.
That was a very good match.
It was a very nice match, and Gunther's got the best chop in the business. He gave one chop to Woods that I think I heard from my couch. I would love to take a chop from Gunther one day. If we ever get back up to Mania and they don't have access anymore. They call it something else. Where like you get to go and meet the wrestlers. They call it something else, but if we ever go to that, I'm asking for Gunther, and I'm asking him to chop the hell out of me because I think that would be fun. Until it happens, and he tase my chest in, and my chest looks like Kofi's. It's the last thing that we would want, but it was a good match. We have the reigning King of the Ring winner versus the 2024 King of the Ring winner, just going at it. At it. I mean, is anybody else other than Gunther going to win? Who else could possibly win the King of the Ring?
If he wasn't embroiled with the CM Punk thing, I'd say McIntyre. But I think inevitably
he's too big for that.
I think at this point, so is Gunther.
Gunther's not Drew. They're different types of big. King of the Ring's not what it used to be. Now it's like you give King of the Ring to somebody who is not going to be in the main event scene. But then I guess I'm saying then Gunther's not going to be in the main event scene. And he will be in the main event scene. Maybe not yet, though. I think that he's got a little bit more seasoning, but he'll get there. He'll get there.
I hope. Oh, man. Well, they have to be very careful because Dragunov got drafted to Raw.
Mm-hmm.
And they immediately, not immediately, like the last question they brought up,
was the next member of Imperium.
And yeah, they asked, your old foe, Gunther, y'all are going to be on the same show. Like, any thoughts on like rekindling that or something? And he's like, I got one word for that. And he said, destiny. And it's like they can't jump right into that feud because they're not going to have Gunther lose. They can't have Dragunov's first feud be a loss.
His first feud is not going to be with Gunther,
right?
He is going into Imperium.
Okay, but I mean, but how long can they hold off pulling the trigger on that match? With both
he gets into Imperium, and then at some point in time, he turns on him months down the road. Maybe even at the next WrestleMania is when they fight.
Oh, dude, yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, after they tried to be friends and it didn't work out, and then they start fighting. You'll see. Just like, wasn't I right when I said that Damian Priest was going to cash in on the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania? So I'm going to be right about this too. Just kidding. I was dead wrong. All right, next. Night 2 second round WWE draft picks. I chose Speed and Logan Paul coming down to announce the picks. Speed had a lot of energy in his pick announcements. He was ready to go. He did a good job.
He got into it.
Yeah, he did a good job. I'm surprised he didn't do something stupid to embarrass himself. I'm glad that he didn't, but he did a very good job.
Yeah, he was a natural at it.
Yeah, he knocked it out of the park. But this was a big round because this is where CM Punk went to Raw and Braun Strowman made his return, and they highlighted how big Braun Strowman was. And Braun is walking so much better than he was, and prior to having his surgery, he looked more limber. Which,
what did he have done again? Was it something on his back?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it was, but it was something that would have hindered him from being able to. He was moving like there might have been his hip, but it was something that was hindering his movement. And
I thought it was something back related, but no. As soon as you said like
your movement,
well, no, I mean, but immediately, yes. But immediately when you said that, I just remembered just the total difference when Taker had his fusion surgery.
It was neck fusion surgery, but
okay, so we're.
But
both
I think
wrong.
that what was happening was that yes, but the nerve, because this was happening to me, and so when you got that nerve damage up top, it shoots all the way down to the bottom, and it can really mess up like your hip and affect your ability to walk straight. And because I just remember him distinctly when he was teaming up with Ricochet, and he looked like he could barely move. Like he could move, but when he walked with like a limp, and you could tell he was favoring one side of his body. He just didn't look right, but he just looked a lot better to me, and looked a lot healthier. And a healthy Braun Strowman is a scary Braun Strowman, and a healthy Braun Strowman is good for the WWE. And if they can go back to booking him the way that he was booked before he got released the first time, he can be an asset, and that could be a sleeper draft pick right there by Raw, because I really like Braun Strowman, and I think he's good for the kids. I think he's good for the company. I think that they could really utilize him. Put a strap on that man. Give him the World Heavyweight title. Let him run rickshot over the entire company. Go back to the days when they had him lift stuff and do feats of strength, and they were just awesome visuals that they would just have out there. Go back to that. I missed that. That was fun.
And when they had him beating Roman in prominent matches.
Yeah, exactly. People forget that he was in the main event scene for a good amount of time, and until he wasn't, because apparently some backstage issues that he had. But I haven't heard any backstage stuff about Braun recently.
No.
So I'm hoping he's over that and he's matured.
Oh, there was something else I was going to say about that. Oh, God. Pat McAfee. It looks like Braun's been eating nothing but protein since.
Braun's gone through so many different body types since he's been in the company. Like when he first came in, he was big boy, big gut, big everything. And then he got really scary because he got himself abs and leaned out and was just completely jacked. And then he came back this time. He's got to take his shirt off. I don't exactly know what his body type is. It definitely looked bigger than when he left.
Oh, for sure.
It didn't look like a lot of fat to me. It just looked like he was just bigger. But I don't know.
Right. No, I agree with that. So let's see, who was out there? It was so it was Logan Paul. And then was that when Judgment Day came out with Jey Uso?
We'll get to that in a second because we haven't said who the SmackDown picks were for this round. So in the SmackDown picks were the Pride and Tiffy. So good boon to the women's division, getting Tiffany Stratton. The Pride are what they are. I mean, they're fine. I mean, I like the Street Profits a lot. Bobby Lashley's a little dull to me, but I do like Bobby Lashley, and just by his physique. I like Bobby Lashley, but he's not exciting. Like, there's nothing exciting about Bobby Lashley, but he's fun to watch. He's a big guy, got a nice physique. Seems really nice. My kids like him, so he's fine by me. And then B-Fab. But all in all, I'd say that Raw, once again, won this round, in my opinion. Well, CM Punk's a big get. CM Punk's a really big get. And Tiffy's a really big get, too. But I think getting CM Punk is better than getting Tiffy. I don't know. Good rounds for both teams. All right. Now we can move on to what happened next. So Logan Paul was cutting a promo on Jey Uso. He made a comment, and I saw this online. I didn't think anything of one of the comments that he made to Jey Uso, but he said something like, "I was saying yeet before anybody."
Yeah, he said something about in 2017.
Well, yeah, and then I saw a video of him like rapping or something, and he says yeet, and then he says whatever he said after what he said on Raw was a direct line that he used 7 years ago about his brother Jake Paul. I don't remember what he said though. I got to go back and look that up. But he definitely was saying yeet because I saw the video in 2017, or so much earlier than Jay. But then he got interrupted by. So the Judgment Day came out. And then him and Braun went over to. Braun came out. He went over to Pat Mahomes. It just turned into.
Before Braun
trying to figure out
came
exactly
out,
what happened.
Before Braun came out, Judgment Day, I think was they were
beating up Uso, and then Braun comes out to give the assist.
No. Then Paul gets out of the ring and goes to Mahomes because he didn't have his brass knucks and he got the Super Bowl
rings. Yeah,
and then he swung and Jay got out of the way and JD McDonough took it. And then when when they were staring in disbelief, and then that was amazing with Balor having the Yeet glasses on, like staring at McDonough, and then Uso popped up and was staring with them, but I guess they were too busy staring at JD McDonough to realize what was going on. And
Yeah.
then that's when they started teaming up on him again, and then Braun came out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny that they made, well, I understand why they made Patrick Mahomes a heel, because Patrick Mahomes is signed by Prime. So he is the first athlete signed by Prime. For the four of you who watch our show, if you're in the older demographic, Prime is an energy drink owned by Logan Paul. Logan Paul is a former Disney actor turned YouTuber and influencer. Anyways, so since Patrick Mahomes is signed by Prime, you can't have him go against the brand that he's a member of. So I guess he was always going to be a heel if he was going to be on the show, because it wouldn't make sense from a branding perspective for him to be a babyface. So I get it. I understand it. Putting all that aside, I'm anxious to see where they go with Braun. Since they had him come down and make the save in a segment from Logan Paul, is he going to get put into the U.S. title picture at some point in time here soon? What do you think?
I don't, because Logan Paul's on SmackDown.
Yeah.
And
So, but Jay's on Raw. So then he was coming down. Okay. So then what's likely going to happen is he's going to get in the.
I think it was just from, if what I read was correct, that was that segment was basically something done specifically for Prime.
Okay.
Because they were in Kansas City, and so they got, Mahomes involved, and that's why that sounded to me like that was the main reason they brought that Logan Paul was there and involved with it on Raw, is because that happened to be where, like, Raw was in Kansas City.
Okay.
And
fair enough.
But so I mean, it could have been just, but I did like when Braun was stepping up to Mahomes and the big lineman got up, and then Braun's like, "You better bring some boys bigger than that."
Well, he's not wrong. Those linemen stood up, and Braun was still a lot bigger than them. And people online were like, "Oh, those linemen will do this, those linemen will do that." They forget that Braun is a strongman competitor. I mean, maybe they might, but
Yeah.
I don't know. They know about as much about fighting as probably Braun Strowman does. So then at that point, I'm taking the big monster who likes to lift airplanes and cars and competitions for for a living. So
still, I may take 2 NFL linemen against 1 strong man. That's tough. Those 2 athletic guys like that.
Braun was a guy who was doing kip-ups and stuff before he got injured. So
No, I'm not saying he's not an athlete, but still, 2 big athletes versus 1. I'll probably take the 2.
Those 2 don't want to get these hands. They don't want to get these hands.
That's probably not, but.
All right. So next we had an Intercontinental Championship match between Sami Zayn and Big Bronson Reed. No one's having titles change hands on a Monday Night Raw anymore. This isn't the 90s. Not even if it wasn't, Bronson Reed was never going to win. And he, I mean, he wasn't. Was there ever a point were you ever questioning who might win this match?
No,
of course not. Of course not. But I actually like Bronson Reed.
I did too.
I think that he's very talented. I don't know why whenever I see him, I feel like he should be an AOP. But I mean, they all have the same build and the same look, and like they all have like stubby statures where I feel like they should all be together. But anyways, I digress. It was I like Bronson Reed. I think that he's super talented. He's got a nice move set. He's a lot more agile than you would think for a man shaped like a meatball. Uh, I just hope that they're not injuring him too much by giving him the solo treatment and making him lose so much. I don't know what he's doing on dark matches. Hopefully he's getting wins somewhere at some point. I don't know if he is, but he's someone who I think should be put him in like the U.S. title scene or something. If you're not going to let him win the Intercontinental China, put him somewhere where he can actually get wins and let him flourish because he's talented.
But I mean, looking at that roster up and down, and they're about to have that problem with several people.
Yeah.
And, what I did like, and I saw this pointed out in some follow up articles, is it wasn't the old, okay, Chad Gable came in there and beat up Sami Zayn, and then it wasn't just Bronson Reed started beating up on Sami Zayn too because they're both heels. He beat up Chad Gable too, and which makes sense because he cost him a chance at the title.
That actually reminds me, I'd forgotten that Chad Gable came in later on. Chad Gable picking up Sami Zayn and German suplexing him and he did it with a pace where, man, I feel like it took so much strength to just lift a man like that slowly, make it look easy. And he's got a lot of he packs a punch for such a small guy. I saw someone online talking about that they should bring Kurt Angle back to manage him. That would be interesting. That would be an interesting pairing. I don't think he needs it though. He's fine.
I don't either, and it's all going to come to a head because Alpha Academy. Well, we'll get to all that later, but yeah, Chad Gable essentially cost Bronson an opportunity, even though I think Bronson had just taken a haluva kick, but still, it'll go down as a DQ win for Sammy because Gable attacked him. So
yeah, and we had Michael Cole on the mic again. Reference El Generico. I think that they're just doing this now every week because they think that it's cool. It isn't. It was funny the first time, but now it needs to stop. It needs to stop.
It is awesome.
They're reusing the same things. They're not even changing it up. That's exactly what Pat McAfee said like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But it is what it is. All right, moving on. The third round draft picks announced by the APA. Damn. First pick was the LWO, and the second pick was always going to be Legado del Fantasma. And then the third overall pick in the third round goes to Drew McIntyre. And the fourth pick to SmackDown goes Shinsuke Nakamura. And Drew McIntyre came out and frustrated. And he should be. Because third round of day 2, come on. Come on, WWE. I know that you're doing this for storyline purposes, but it's really just not believable to me. Some of the people that were picked before him, are we really going to sit here and say that you'd rather have? Let me go back to these draft picks.
Wait, and who did you say got picked before that?
It was LWO, and then Legado del Fantasma.
Not on the same show. They're separate now.
I know. What I'm saying is, okay, Raw got LWO, SmackDown then got Legado del Fantasma, then Raw got McIntyre, then SmackDown got Shinsuke. But now that you bring that up, I am so confused as to why well, I guess I'm not confused, but this stupid storyline's been going on now for what feels like 10 years, and now they're just going to have them on separate shows. I mean, I guess there's all the uncertainty with Carlito attacking Dragon Lee, so maybe that's just going to spin off into its own little storyline.
I'm glad they did because there was no end in sight. I mean,
I'm glad they did too. Don't get me wrong.
There was no end in sight.
But I just don't feel like they have set that up properly to just. I'm glad that it's just ending, but I don't think it was set up to have just ended. But whatever you got to do to make that stop, I'm all for. I'm all for. And I bet you Triple H is back to like, look, we don't have any way of stopping this. Let's just put them on separate shows and then just act like they haven't been feuding for the past 15 years. But McIntyre came out furious, blaming the APA, saying that they got everyone back there too drunk, and that's why they didn't get picked until the third round. And then we see CM Punk in the skybox yelling down at Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre obviously is obsessed with CM Punk, so he goes to find him, only to find a picture, a signed autograph of CM Punk in the box, as opposed to CM Punk himself. Very nice work by CM Punk. Very nice touch to have that signed picture there. McIntyre must be very upset to have gotten duped. He looks like an idiot. He's embarrassing Drew McIntyre, and it's only fueling this feud. Question is, when is CM Punk going to be medically cleared? Do we think it's already happened? Do we think it's close? What say you?
I don't know. Because obviously this is going to be the first major match that Punk has when he comes back.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's like they obviously just signed McIntyre to a huge new contract. And like you're just gonna have him lose his first major feud for post contract.
CM Punk doesn't need a win. He can lose. He can lose his first match back. McIntyre has to have a blow off of some sort. I just don't feel like CM Punk getting the win would be what's that going to do? That's just going to make Drew even madder to continue the feud. Maybe. I don't really see Punk benefiting at all from a win, but I see Drew being able to finally exercise the demons that have haunted him now for the past 6 months.
That is a feud I could see including in Hell in a Cell.
But didn't we determine there is no Hell in a Cell anymore?
No, not Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, but
in a Hell in a Cell.
My understanding is that is a gimmick match that is still going to be used for the blow-off to major feuds. And the way that this one has been built, and especially with what it cost McIntyre at Mania, or what he perceives as costing him. And yeah, I could see this being 50-50 feud, or hell, Punk even getting the first 2 wins if they wanted to go that way, but Drew ultimately winning at Hell in a Cell. I could see them doing that.
Okay. We'll see how they want to handle that. I do agree that the amount of bad blood that there is between the two of them, that Hell in a Cell is the appropriate, or a TLC match or something. There's something that they can just beat the crap out of each other with nice shiny objects.
What was the other feud though we said might conclude there? I thought there was another feud we talked about recently that could also warrant that. I just can't remember which one it was.
Oh, AJ Styles and LA Knight, if they're still battling.
Okay, yes. Yeah. Okay.
I think they're done. I hope they're done.
But we talked about this, though. Remember how AJ went all the way to Australia to cost?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And they're both still on SmackDown, right?
Why do I think they might have gotten drafted to separate shows?
I feel like
they're probably in the same show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on, and let's be quick with this next one. I don't want to waste any time on it. Maxine Dupree versus Candice LeRae. Sloppy match. LeRae gets the win. Maxine Dupree, she's got a long way to go.
She got in a few moves, but this is all building up to something.
Indy and
Well, no, either Chad Gable throwing them all out of Alpha Academy,
oh
or
yeah,
Alpha Academy
quitting.
finally or finally overcoming and getting some sort of gold.
Yeah.
So, but
Well,
because
what
Gable
gold could they
gave,
get?
I mean,
What gold could they?
Gable gave him that pep talk, and then he's like, "Now go win me a championship, or go win me some gold," and then they Tozawa and Otis lost, and then when Maxine was trying to say, I had 2 eliminations, and then he's like, "Oh, you had 2 eliminations." Like, what championship did you win? That was great.
That actually reminded me of one thing I forgot to say is that when the APA was announcing the LWO, he didn't call him Rey Mysterio. He called him the deadbeat dad. That's good.
That was good.
And the internet reminded me that JBL's last match was against Rey Mysterio, so he's still got a lot of pent up aggression towards him.
Yeah, I think it was at WrestleMania 25.
Yeah.
And I believe it was shortly after. I think that was within. I think that was within the feud of the the JBL at the border segment.
Yeah.
I think that led. I think that was in the build up to that Mania match. I believe
That was the Mexican he was trying to stop coming to the United States.
Oh
Good old
gosh,
619 himself, the deadbeat dad, Rey Mysterio.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right. So then next up, we got CM Punk back. I guess this was the time when Drew McIntyre went up to find him, only to find CM Punk in the center of the ring. How clever!
Oh, that was amazing.
How clever he was.
Off again.
And then he cut a promo inside the ring, which, the best in the world is going to cut a scathing. When he wants to cut a scathing promo, he can.
Yeah.
And he did.
It was short and sweet, to the point.
Yeah. Yeah. And it set the stage for, well, he promised Pat McAfee that it'll be under 5 minutes and 35 seconds or whatever he said. So we expected it to be short. But just further setting up the match that these two uber talented competitors are eventually going to have. So it was nice. But we also got night 2 4th round picks. Raw got in the 4th round on day 2. They got Judgment Day and Dragunov. So what a round for them. And then SmackDown got Naomi, Chelsea Green, and Piper Niven. How are these the same? How are this is like playing fantasy with a kid who can barely read. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, how do you have a team where one side's taking Naomi, Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, the other one's getting Ilya Dragunov and the Judgment Day? Now the question becomes, when Ripley comes back, if the Judgment Day is still intact, does she get it? So is she on Raw with them? Does she get to get picked by either one? I'm curious to know how that works.
Yeah, and there are plenty of gripes about the way the draft went down, but just clarification on so many of these things just is a big one.
It is.
And just like, okay, I know certain superstars were only eligible for the SmackDown portion, and then the Friday night part of the draft, and then the other part was eligible for the Monday night portion.
Right.
Was it the same for NXT? That was never explained, and I need to know that, because if it was any of them besides the champions, how does Kiana James get picked ahead of Dragunov? How?
She's better.
Okay.
Here's the one thing
I love Kiana James, but logically that makes absolutely no sense.
Logically, why did they give Ilya Dragunov a Raw hat when he got picked? Did any of the other people get a hat?
Yes.
They
Yes.
did? Okay,
Yeah.
so I
The,
just
no,
wasn't paying attention.
the
That one caught my
NXT.
eye.
No, the NXT. Kiana James got a hat. Blair Davenport got a hat. This Dragunov was not about to disturb that perfectly gelled hair, and that hat did not touch his head. As
As it shouldn't
yeah,
have, because those hats are stupid. They're just capitalizing off the NFL draft, which I cannot blame them for, but stupid nonetheless. Stupid nonetheless. I'll tell you what wasn't stupid. The next match between Nia Jackson and Liv Morgan. There's some nice spots in this match. I like how they use gravity to their advantage by having Nia try to go to the top rope and then having Liv uh, bring her down with a power bomb of sorts. Because that's the only way that Liv's going to be able to inflict any damage on her is using gravity. Because Nia's a big woman, and Liv is not a big woman. So, uh, but it was two heels. It's always odd when two heels are fighting each other. You never know who to root for, so you just want them both to lose. I think the crowd was a little confused in who to cheer for as well.
but Liv's not being booked like your typical heel.
That's true.
I mean, she had, again, in her mind, the legitimate gripe with Ripley, injury for an injury. And then,
But that's not a thing that a real person would do.
it's
Like,
it's professional wrestling.
It's real to me, damn it.
Yeah. And, but then also, when she came to the ring to be Becky's number one contender, and she's like, I'll earn that spot, and she agreed to take on Nia. She didn't try to like weasel her way in there like your typical heel. You know what I'm saying? That's more so what I meant by that.
Yeah, I guess.
It was. I mean, she. So she.
Well, she got the win.
Yes,
And she earned herself a match against Becky Lynch.
Okay, talk about things not making sense. I apologize to our 4 people who may watch this for 10 minutes. I'm battling a cold. Why was Tiffany Stratton at ringside for this match?
Why not?
She got drafted to SmackDown.
Yeah, but you heard them. They got 1 week.
She's still on SmackDown. What are you talking about?
Yes, but they made a point that you can go wherever you want for the next week. So that's what she chose to do.
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, I understand that Nia is. Okay, maybe they were showing something that's going to happen later between setting up. Maybe that's Tiffany's next feud. She's going to be feuding with Nia or something, because then Naomi showed up, essentially interrupted the match and jumped Tiffy time.
Yep. And Morgan took advantage.
Yes.
Hit her finisher and scored the victory against the Irresistible Force.
And so she will get the next title shot against Becky, and now Naomi, Tiffy, and Nia will go finish off whatever beef they have now on SmackDown.
There you go. And speaking of beef, I have a beef with the 5th round draft picks.
Oh boy.
Awful round. So it was, well, not awful round, but not one of the better rounds. The New Day went first to Raw, then Pretty Deadly went to SmackDown, then Valkyria went to Raw, and then Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell went to SmackDown. So they were pretty big on trying to. I feel like they have all the women's tag teams, because didn't they get Piper? They got Piper, they got Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. Just loading up the women's tag teams over here on SmackDown, leaving slim pickings for Raw, which will allow for an even longer title reign for the Kabuki Warriors, whoever has a title now.
Well, they're about to lose it.
Never.
No, they're...
To who? Who are they fighting at?
They're
Backlash.
Bianca and Jade.
There's a world where they retain, and that world would be is that they move Jade to heel quickly, and there's an altercation between the two of them at the match, which causes their feud to begin.
Oh yeah,
because I mean they're gonna feud. Keep having them be tag team partners is borderline racist in the first place. So they just need to start the feud now. You're both black. Let's make you a tag team. Naomi, you're black too. Let's make you a faction. Black girls with attitudes, what we'll call it. Am I wrong? What other reason is there for Jade Cargill to be with Bianca?
She can turn on her.
That's the only acceptable answer, which is why it happens now. They're too talented to be together. Well, let me take that back. Bianca is too talented to be in a tag team with Jade Cargill.
No, hell, I think isn't one of the promotional posters for SummerSlam, doesn't it have Bianca and Jade on it? Those two are fighting at SummerSlam.
Yeah. So that's why it starts now. So they're
no. I
yeah.
agree. But no,
Kabuki Warriors are keeping their title.
I don't know. We'll see.
We call that a 10 squeeze guarantee. Squeeze.
Well, we'll do our picks some other time, but I think, I think we're going to go on the opposite ends of that one.
Okay. All right. Well, we then got The Miz and R-Truth defending their World Tag Team titles against Alpha Academy with Otis and Akira Tozawa. All this is doing is continuing to further down the rift between Chad Gable and the Alpha Academy. Let's just go ahead and split that pretty quickly. Chad Gable doesn't need them anymore. He's above them. It's time to end that whole storyline. The match itself was fine. Nothing to write home about.
No, it was
Truth retain their titles.
I thought it was too quick because I honestly think that Tozawa and Otis lasted longer against the Wolf Dogs than they did Miz and Truth, and that should not be happening.
Why 2 Hall of Famers?
Okay, yes, that's not going to fly for me on this one.
Flies with me.
Yeah, well,
no, I hear what you're saying. But they got to protect the titles somewhat.
It's like in court. Okay, well then make the matches the same length because Corbin and Breaker were champs at the time.
Yeah, but they were NXT champs.
I don't care.
I'm talking real championships, Wade. On real shows.
Oh boy.
Well, the right team won. That's all that matters.
Yes, yeah. I mean, no argument there.
Yeah. And then we got the final picks. The Final Testament goes to Raw. DIY goes to SmackDown. Big Bronson Reed goes to Raw. And Blair Davenport goes to SmackDown. Blair Davenport is Mrs. Irrelevant.
I like Blair Davenport.
Mm-hmm.
She and I think most of the people that it spring breaking week 1 had losses. Even like the questionable ones, I think they all ended up getting drafted.
Mm-hmm.
But that one made the most sense. Like one of those gimmick brawl matches, that kind of ends a feud. Yeah, that was a good send off for Blair Davenport. losing to Sol
Yeah.
Luca. However, on the complete opposite side of that, you had that horrific loss that they had Baron Corbin on his last match, getting racked by Lexis King and losing that way, and then Dijak getting distracted because one of Meta-4 guys had like a T-bar mask and he lost. But I don't know if did you see that Dijak ended up getting drafted to Raw?
I did not see the after the show picks.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find
Yeah,
those.
Dijak is going to Raw. And
So they can misuse him in the main roster again. Great.
and man, and I just saw something said trying to connect needs stable internet connection.
You hate to see it. I'm showing that you are going at 99%.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Now that, and I think I kind of touched on that earlier. Like just looking at the rosters top to bottom, it's already looking like I don't see how they're not going to misuse Dijak, which is unfortunate because they could have kept him. They could have kept him on NXT. The crowd wanted him to win. The crowd was pumped on those false finishes for that triple threat match at Stand and Deliver when it looked like he was going to win the championship. And it's like, hey, look, if you don't have a good plan in place for him to move up the ladder for the work he's put in and the hard work he's done to get over with the fans there, then leave him there.
Yeah.
At least, but again, I could be wrong. He could be champion next week, and but just looking at the roster top to bottom and some of the moves they've made, like making it clear they're giving some of these other guys pushes, I just don't know where he's going to fit into that, which is a shame. It really, really is, and hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't know, man. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, here's what we are getting for the remainder of the picks. We're getting on Raw. This seems completely lopsided, but the Creed brothers, Ivy Nile, Dijak, New Catch Republic, Odyssey Jones, Natalia, Katana Chance, and Caden Carter. And SmackDown got Giovanni Vinci, Apollo Crews, and Tegan Knox. Don't quite see where that's one team gets 8 and the other gets 3, but yes, you are correct. One of those people is gone. Well, hang on a second. Let me go back to that. I mean, you know what I'm saying right there. Yeah, it just seems a little lopsided, but Dijak, he is on Raw, so good for them. Good for them. All right. The show ended with Uso, Andrade, and Ricochet fighting against the Judgment Day. Is Priest going to beat Jey Uso?
I don't know.
I don't know either, because Bleacher was talking about Triple H and company are hoping Priest beating Uso will go a long way in establishing him as a valid champion. But I don't know if that's what they want. I don't know if they want to be a valid champion. Uso is, I guess, allegedly popular right now. I think they'd rather have him as champion right now. I don't know what kind of merch sales Damian Priest has, but I find it hard to believe a lot of kids are asking their parents for Damian Priest shirts. I don't see it happening.
Man, I don't know. And
well, you know what? It's good that we don't know.
Yeah,
makes for better television.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. And I'm going with Priest though.
Okay. I always viewed him as a transitional champion. Therefore, I am going with no other than Uso when the time comes. And now I'm trying to find a match card for NXT because you all want to hear about that too.
I'm trying to think exactly how the match ended. How did that match end? I know Judgment Day lost.
Yeah.
How exactly did it end? I remember Priest being upset again.
Well, Priest is essentially embroiled in the same storyline that Sami Zayn is. There's a lot of similarities between the two. But the match ended with trying to remember. I don't know how it ended. How did it end? Well, it ended. It's not still going on. That much I know. It has been over for 2 days.
By 4 viewers, we're going to figure this out for you.
Mom, why are they taking such a long break?
All right. I can't find it.
It was a pen.
No, it was definitely
I'm gonna go ahead and assume that J.D. McDonough took the pin.
It was it may have been Finn, but I know that there was some confusion and because Priest tried to come in and prevent the pin, but it was too late. I do remember that. And so, of course, just more dissension leading into Saturday. So we shall see.
We shall see, but that wraps up Monday Night Raw, and that takes us right in to Spring Breakin'.
Yeah. Your favorite.
Yeah, I said Spring Breakin'.
Your favorite title.
The dumbest title ever. Spring Breakin' Night 2. And let me find my match list for Spring Breakin' Night 2, which started off with Oba Femi versus Ivar.
Man,
now
this was a good
4 viewers. I didn't do my homework, so I'm going to ask Wade questions so I can try to figure out what happened on NXT.
We know, Josh.
Did Josh Briggs live or die on this episode? Did he make it?
Oh, Josh Briggs made an appearance.
Okay.
Josh Briggs made an appearance. So, Oba Femi won. This is a good match, man. Like I figured it would be. God, Ivar's very talented for a big guy, and it was
for any guy.
It was very. Yeah, I just mean the athleticism for a guy that size and the moves he can do in the ring, and a very good match. Oba Femi won clean, and after the match, though, we had the return of former NXT champion through the crowd, Mr. Wes Lee, who came in and stood toe to toe with Oba Femi, and then so it was a good match and a good post match segment. So
okay, very good, and we'll see what they end up doing with Wes Lee as he confronted the champion, and that should be interesting. That should be interesting. And then next we got Thea Hale and JC Jane going at it at Spring Breakin' 2. Tell me a little bit about this match.
This was I can't stop laughing about what happened after the match. So Fallon Henley in a good show of continuing a storyline. She was debating whether or not to escort Thea to the ring because she's like, just feeling down about her clean loss last week and not getting drafted. Like, hey, no, we want you out there. Come on. And so she escorted Thea and Chase U. And she actually helped prevent JC from utilizing some outside interference. And she took a shot, was laid out because Fallon took the hit for her, and then allowed Thea ended up getting JC to tap out with a Kimura in the ring.
Okay,
and it was a good match, and I think it was the right call for JC. I'm sorry for JC to have what to get what she had coming to her in a singles match. I personally would have liked to have seen this happen at Stand and Deliver. I think it should have happened at Stand and Deliver, but that's neither here nor there. And but so after the match, when Fallon got back in the ring to like go to, I guess, talk to him, and Chase U was in there celebrating, and Andre Chase, like while he was jumping up and down, like accidentally bumped into Fallon Henley, and that just made her more upset. So when they were all leaving the ring, she ended up attacking Thea Hale. And Thea Hale was like, why does this keep happening to me? Because JC Jane turned on her, and now that feud's over, and now Fallon Henley turned on her. Oh, it was just, but you got to go back and watch the clip where Andre Chase bumps into Fallon Henley and just kept on celebrating. I just found it very humorous. But now it makes sense because the way that Fallon lost last week, I was like, oh, she's getting drafted. She's going to one of the shows for sure. But now they're, I guess, continuing this, and now one of those things you don't know who's going to win because Thea Hale's got momentum now, and it's like, okay, are they going to feed Fallon Henley to her, or is Fallon going to have a resurgence and they're going to actually? Either way, it's kind of a lose-lose for whoever's going to end up losing that feud. So
yeah.
We'll see what was next. I enjoyed the match, so right girl won.
Well, here's a match that you probably didn't enjoy, but maybe you did. The OC versus Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe.
Right team won. This was and forgive me, I know they got these NIL deals. This tag team. What were their names again?
It was Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe.
It said this was their first match, and if that
it was their debut,
okay, and if that was the case, definitely no better tag team that is used on NXT, even though it's on a limited basis. But they definitely made the right call to put them in the ring with two veterans like that, and man, they look good. They've got charisma, trying to get the crowd into it. They're very athletic guys. Just as long as they're presented properly and they don't try to force them down the fans' throats, I think they'll thrive. Because but that's a big if. So we'll see.
We'll see.
But no, the OC won, and rightfully so. I don't see a world where a debuting team beats a veteran team like that. But they had a very good showing. The OC did right by them for sure.
Oh, they also are glorified jobbers, though. I mean, they could have lost that. What do they add to the table? Nothing. What's a win going to do for them? Nothing.
Well,
what's a loss going to do for them? Nothing.
Well, considering that,
well, let's talk about not the main event. Probably should have been Shawn Spears versus Ridge Holland. Your favorite feud on the entire network of programming for the WWE. Shawn Spears versus Ridge Holland, and what will go down as one of the top 5 million matches of all time.
It wasn't a bad match, but just the way you can tell the fans do not care. It just the crowd investment in Spears on his return to this match is complete night and day, because nobody cares about this whole thing with Ridge Holland. There were fans chanting retire and it wasn't a bad match. That's the sad thing. It was not a bad match, but just Ridge won clean. And so I don't know where this goes from here. I have absolutely no clue, but I don't think it's going to stop. I've just got a bad feeling it's not going to stop.
It's never going to stop.
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. But who was next?
Well, I'll tell you what is going to stop us talking about that match. So next up is Axiom and Nathan Frazier versus AOP.
Was this the main event?
This was not the main event.
Okay.
The main event was Lola
Oh,
Vice
that's right.
versus
The NXT
Natalia.
Underground. That's right. I apologize. Okay. As
As you should.
soon as this wasn't the main event, I knew that the title was not changing hands here. But New Catch Republic interfered, costing AOP the win, and a little continuity from the attack they endured at the hands of Final Testament last week, and so yeah, they they cost him, and they presented it kind of like a fluke thing because when they pinned one of the guys from AOP, like right after the ref hit the count of three, the shoulders were flying up. So they just presented it as like a fluke thing, but we already know what feud's happening first for those two respective teams. They're both on Raw now, so good match. I I don't think they needed to do the stuff beforehand with the presentation of AOP wanting all the gold and Final Testament. And then their first crack at it, they lose again, and questionable decision. But it was based on interference, and match was good though. God, man, Axiom and Frazier are fun. God, that
Yeah, they are.
yeah, dude, and I think, assuming they keep them together, I definitely think that they will transition well to either Raw or SmackDown when that time comes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They got a little bit of time to go though before they get put on Raw or SmackDown.
yeah,
They still need to
based on
fix a couple
this,
things. Yeah. All right, and then now the main event that you were so stubbornly trying to start 10 minutes ago.
yeah.
It is Lola Vice versus Natalia. I've already expressed my distaste towards the way Lola Vice comes to the ring, but I'm not going to let that affect my gambling on her.
Dude, I like the way she was presented in this one. Her hair, the way her hair was done, like a lot of the fighters do, like taking it. I don't want to say taking it seriously, but just presented the way that, you would have it, like tied back, like you're in a real MMA fight, and, or braided that way. And I think she even had the mouth guard in, and man, and showing her, like, there was a segment with her doing a punching bag with Shayna Baszler, dude, that just seeing her train and throw punches, it's almost unrealistic to think anybody would have a chance against her. And
I would.
But okay, I thought the ending was stupid. I'm just gonna say it because I can never remember Natalia's corner woman, her friend.
I don't know.
But the one that's been involved in this whole thing too. Baszler got her in the Kirafina clutch.
Mm-hmm.
She got her in the Kirafina clutch while Natalia had on and Natalia's got as she should. Natalia's got a great sharpshooter. It looks good. And in the way she cranked it back, in the way that Lola Vice sold it by arching her back, it looked painful, dude. It was, and I was like, oh, damn. I was like, they're about to have Natalia win this. But then the Kirafina clutch was put on, and for some reason, instead of just, I'll settle this after I win my match. No, Natalia went and broke it up. And then when she got back onto the mat, she was met with a spinning back fist, and then she covered up and was on the receiving end of blows, and the ref immediately stops the match.
Yeah. Keep everybody safe.
But it's like, okay, you want to stop the match, she's covering up, not defending herself. I get selling it that way, but hey, she got put in the Carafina clutch. Hey, deal with that later. Win your match. I thought it was preposterous, the ending, but whatever. Natalia got drafted, and Lola Vice, I think, is she's eventually going to win either the NXT Women's North American Championship or have the women's gold at some point. She's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
I agree with you.
There were a couple of segments that need to be mentioned. Trick Williams came to the ring, and is it Lash Legend with a Metaphor?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she comes out, and they had a little back and forth, and she had a manila envelope in her hand with some writing on it. And it's like, oh, I've got something. And I was like, oh God, is he about to get served with custody papers or what's going on? And the crowd was eating that up about chanting something. I think they were chanting Maury or chanting something along those lines. And of course we got to wait till the Supernova sessions next week to see what's in the envelope. And I was like, God, please don't do something dumb. He just got the title. Please, God, don't do something that's stupid. And,
well, guess what? The odds are they're going to do something dumb.
Yeah. And so that happened. They had a session with the family, which I'm always happy to see. It was a session with them in a car, and it was in a Ford Explorer. Again, it makes no sense, and you can't even use they're being low key. He's admitted to multiple murders on TV, like we bring up every week, and they put him in a gold plated Bentley at this point, but talking about. He made his intentions very clear to go for the Heritage Cup. And so I'm assuming that's going to happen at the show in Vegas. And seeing how he's prominently featured on the advertisement is probably going to win. As long as they don't put Charlie Dempsey anywhere near the microphone, I don't care. And
we're all losers if they do that.
And then they had I'll save the best for last. They had a locker room session with Ivar, Josh Briggs, and Wesley, and so Josh Briggs was talking about the North American title. Ivar said he wasn't done with Oba, and then Wesley was talking about getting a shot at it. So they just had a triple threat. I don't know if they're about to have a fatal 4-way or what they're going to do, but yeah. But
we'll find out soon what they're about to do. Find out soon.
Oh! I forgot something. And one more segment. Ava announced that to determine the competitors in the ladder match to crown the inaugural NXT Women's North American Championship, they're going to have a combine with the potential competitors, which the results of the combine will determine who has the singles matches to qualify for the ladder match. So
interesting. So we know Nia will not be one of them.
I don't know.
I can't imagine she does a 3-cone drill. She will.
Well, I'm thinking though immediately that Sol Ruka will do well at that, and probably Thea Hale. And probably Lola Vice if they don't have bigger aspirations at that point for the main women's title. But yeah, and as I touched on earlier, they had the segment with Roxanne Perez questioning why she wasn't drafted and throwing a fit, and they were like, "Hey, the titles are protected." I think they had to do that on the fly because they did not clearly explain that at all.
Well, they clearly have no problem clearly explaining things. I'm sitting here still wondering what MFT is.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that is very true. And another thing that didn't make any sense. So Chelsea Green and Piper Nevin got drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Next week on NXT, Chelsea Green is fighting Roxanne Perez on NXT. And Chelsea Green, I love Chelsea Green. I do. And her outfit was appropriately absurd. Like the biggest bow I've ever seen as an outfit. Like it was it was great. But then she
I'll take
said,
a look at that.
she said, I think I'm gonna like it here. You just got drafted to a show.
Interesting.
But
Interesting.
so yeah.
Sounds like a lot of questionable decisions.
Yeah, but dude, you couldn't help but to laugh when Lash Legend had the envelope. It it was great, dude. Oh, and Trick is great on the mic, dude. The interactions they had. He's like, hey girl. He was talking about he's like, now I got this gold. He's like, he wants some of this Reese cup or something like that. Oh my god.
Oh.
It was gold. Need to go back and watch that.
I'll probably go back and watch it tomorrow. But as for tonight, that is going to wrap up night 2 of the WWE draft on episode 16 of the Golden Squeeze podcast. If you like what you saw, go ahead and hit the like icon. And then go ahead and hit the bell as well and subscribe. And we will see you when we see you on the Golden Squeeze podcast.